Have you ever looked at a guy and thought, he doesn't even care if I'm around, only to catch him staring when he thinks you're not looking? Let me tell you something that might flip everything you thought you knew about him. Some men don't show their obsession with you. They hide it, and they're very, very good at it. In fact, one of the biggest myths in dating is this idea that if he wants you, you'll know. No, sometimes the guys who act the coldest are the ones burning the hottest underneath. So why does he act distant? Why does he ignore your stories, seem unbothered by your silence, and pretend you're just another girl on his feed? Here's the truth. He's obsessed, but terrified of showing it. That's right. He doesn't want you to know that your presence affects him, that your energy pulls him in. So instead, he hides behind mixed signals, slow replies, and that frustrating too cool to care mask. But guess what? His behavior is giving him away. And in this video, I'm going to expose every sign he's secretly obsessed with you, even if he's pretending he couldn't care less. Because once you understand what he's really hiding, you're the one in control. So grab your coffee, lock in, and by the end of this video, you won't be wondering if he's obsessed. You'll be recognizing the signs he can't even hide anymore. Let's get into it. It's one of the most confusing things in dating. He shows interest, you feel the spark, and then suddenly he pulls back. He acts distant, distracted, maybe even cold. And you're left wondering, was it all in my head? But here's what you need to understand. When a man pretends not to care, it usually has nothing to do with you and everything to do with him. See, a lot of men are raised to believe that showing emotion is weakness. From a young age, they're told to man up, to suppress vulnerability, to never let anyone, especially a woman, know they're emotionally invested. So when he starts feeling real feelings for you, excitement, desire, even fear of losing you, his instinct isn't to open up, it's to shut down, to retreat, to act unaffected. But don't be fooled. His silence, his aloofness, his so-called cool attitude, it's often a mask, a defense mechanism, because if he admits out loud or even to himself that he does care, he opens the door to rejection, to loss of control, to getting hurt. And for a man who's not emotionally mature or self-aware, that's terrifying. Then there's ego. A guy who's used to attention. Maybe he's good-looking, successful, or just confident, may expect women to chase him. So when you show you have your own life, your own standards, that's when he starts to care the most. But he won't show it right away. Why? Because admitting he wants you means admitting you have power over him, and that's something many men struggle to accept. On the flip side, some guys pretend not to care because they genuinely don't know how to handle intense attraction. When he meets someone who triggers something deeper, something real, it can freak him out. He may not be emotionally equipped to deal with how strongly he feels about you. So if you're dealing with a guy who gives you hot and cold energy, don't immediately assume he's not into you. It could be the exact opposite. He could be wrestling with emotions he doesn't know how to express. And instead of leaning in, he's hiding behind apathy. The key is to stop reacting and start observing. Because when you stop chasing answers, his behavior starts revealing the truth. And 9 times out of 10, it's not that he doesn't care. It's that he cares way more than he wants you or himself to believe. When a guy is secretly obsessed with you, he rarely comes out and says it. Instead, it shows up in quiet ways, the kind of signs you'd only catch if you're paying attention. And once you know what to look for, these subtle clues become crystal clear. Let's start with something most women overlook. He remembers tiny, random things you've said. You might have mentioned your favorite coffee order once, or how you had a stressful Tuesday meeting, and suddenly he brings it up days later. Not in a big obvious way, but casually, like it just came to mind. That's not a coincidence. He's mentally cataloging things about you because you're on his mind more than he's willing to admit. Another subtle sign? He shows up in your spaces, but pretends it's accidental. You start noticing he's at the same parties, hangs out at the cafe you posted on your story, or even joins group chats you're in. He's not stalking you, but he is orbiting you. It's like he wants proximity without making it obvious. He's drawn to your energy, but pride won't let him fully step into your world. And then there's the social media trail. He might not like every photo. In fact, sometimes he'll intentionally not engage with your posts to seem detached. But then, boom, he views every single story the second you post it. He's online 5 minutes after you catch him watching your TikToks or Reels multiple times. Silent engagement is one of the clearest signs of low-key obsession. He wants to stay close without seeming obvious. Pay attention to his body language too. When he's around you, does he face you even in a group? Do his feet point towards you? Does he mirror your posture or use your slang? These are unconscious signs that he's emotionally attuned to you. Even if he's trying to act neutral, his body reacts before his mind can shut it down. Another sign, he brings you up in conversations indirectly. Maybe he asks mutual friends what you're up to. Or he references something you said in front of others, like, didn't she say she loves horror movies, as if he's trying to casually insert you into the convo without being obvious. But trust me, if your name keeps coming up, you're on his mind constantly. Don't ignore the jealousy. He might not say it out loud, but you'll feel it. The shift in his energy when you talk about other guys. The quick mood change if he sees you vibing with someone else. Sometimes he'll even pretend he doesn't notice, but his sudden silence or sarcastic comments say otherwise. What makes all these signs low-key is that they're not meant to be seen. He's trying to stay in control. But obsession is hard to hide. It seeps through the cracks, in habits, in glances, in the way he lingers a little too long, even when he says he's not looking. Because the truth is, when a guy is low-key obsessed, he leaves footprints. You just have to know where to look. You can ignore his words all day, but his body language will tell you everything you need to know. When a guy is secretly obsessed with you, his body almost always betrays him. He may be able to keep his feelings out of his text, out of his tone, but his body, that's where the truth leaks out. Let's start with the eyes. If he's into you, he'll look at you when he thinks you're not looking. And the second you lock eyes with him, he might glance away quickly, act distracted, or look at something random like his phone. That's because he got caught. Obsession isn't loud, it's sneaky. It shows up in those fast flickers of attention. If you catch him staring from across the room, only to act like he wasn't even thinking about you. That's not shyness, it's a cover. Now watch what he does when he's near you in a group setting. Does he angle his body towards you, even if he's not speaking to you directly? Do his shoulders face your direction? Does he lean in slightly when you speak, even if the conversation isn't about him? All of these are subconscious cues that he's drawn to you and wants to be in your space. His body is naturally sinking to yours, like it can't help but gravitate toward your energy. Another major giveaway, mirroring. If you cross your legs, he crosses his. If you laugh and tuck your hair behind your ear, suddenly he's adjusting his hoodie or touching his face. Mirroring is not something people do intentionally. It's a deep psychological response that reveals connection, attraction, and yes, obsession. When someone mirrors your actions, it means they're tuned into your rhythm. And if he does it consistently, even during short interactions, you're living rent-free in his mind. Let's talk proximity. A man who's obsessed, whether he admits it or not, will find reasons to be close. He may not touch you directly, but he'll close the gap when he talks. He'll sit a little closer than necessary. He'll stand behind you in line or walk next to you, even if he could have taken a different spot. It's subtle, but it's intentional. He wants to be in your orbit without fully declaring it. You might also notice nervous energy around you, fidgeting, tapping, adjusting clothes, running a hand through his hair. That's not boredom, that's tension. His body is reacting to the pressure of being around someone he can't stop thinking about. He's trying to keep it cool, but his nervous system didn't get the memo. And finally, the accidental touches. The way he brushes your arm in passing. The quick touch on your back as you walk by. He'll make these moments seem natural, but they're not. Physical contact, no matter how brief, is one of the clearest signs of someone who's fighting the urge to be closer. So even if he says nothing, even if he plays it chill, watch his body. Because when a guy is obsessed, his mouth might lie, but his body screams the truth. There's something incredibly revealing about how a guy behaves when he thinks you're not paying attention. Because when he's not performing, when there's no pressure to impress or react, that's when the real signs show up. And if he's secretly obsessed with you, he's watching you from a distance in silence and far more than you realize. You might not catch it immediately, but if you pay close attention, it becomes obvious. You're laughing with friends, telling a story, maybe just scrolling on your phone, and you feel eyes on you. You glance up, and there he is, watching you, Not in a creepy way, but in that deep, thoughtful, I'm studying every move you make kind of way. And the second your eyes meet his, he looks away, acts like he was zoning out, like you were just a blur in the background. But no, he was focused on you. When a man is low-key obsessed, he won't always insert himself into your space. Sometimes, his fascination keeps him back. Maybe he doesn't feel confident enough to approach. Maybe he doesn't want to risk giving himself away. But from a distance, he's collecting data, watching how you move, how you interact with others, how you carry yourself when you think no one's looking. You'll notice that he somehow knows more about you than you've told him. He's picked up on things, your routines, your moods, your habits. He knows what time you usually show up. He knows who your closest friends are. He's clocked the little changes in your appearance or attitude. Why? Because obsession breeds observation. He may not comment on your life directly, but he's keeping tabs in the background like a silent presence, always one step behind your shadow. And social settings make it even more obvious. If you're in the same room, notice how often he places himself in a spot where he can see you, even if he doesn't talk to you. He could sit anywhere, but he chooses a position where you're in view. That's not chance. That's control. He wants access to you visually, to monitor your energy, your laughter, your attention. There's also the fake distraction move. He'll act like he's on his phone or talking to someone else, but his peripheral focus is on you. He hears your laugh and instantly glances over. Someone says your name, and he subtly leans in to hear. His body may not be close, but his attention is locked in. And the wild part, well, I'll do all this without ever saying a word. He doesn't need to engage directly. He's watching because he can't not watch. His obsession keeps him tethered to you even from afar. So if you keep catching him randomly, looking your way, it's not random. It's emotional surveillance. Because when a man is secretly obsessed, he doesn't always chase with words. Sometimes he chases you with his eyes when he thinks no one's watching. In today's world, if you really want to know how someone feels about you, don't just watch what they say, watch what they do on social media. It's where people reveal things they'd never admit out loud. And when a guy is secretly obsessed with you, his digital trail tells the real story. If you know what to look for, let's start with something subtle but powerful. He watches every single story. And not just sometimes, every single, even the boring ones. Even the ones you post just to test who's paying attention. He might not engage. He might not even like your posts, but he's always watching. If he's consistently one of the first people on your viewers list or always shows up, especially late at night or within minutes of posting, that's not by accident. He's keeping tabs, quiet, that's obsession in stealth mode. Now let's talk likes. Some guys won't touch the like button on your recent posts because they're trying to seem unaffected. But here's the twist. He'll randomly like an old photo. One from months ago, maybe even years back. He'll claim it was a mistake, but let's be honest, you don't end up deep in someone's feed by accident. That accidental, that's a digital slip. It means he's been scrolling, lurking, digging, and probably catching feelings while doing it. Another clue is what he doesn't do. A guy who's obsessed but pretending not to care might avoid interacting with you at all. No likes, no comments, no emojis, but somehow he's still watching. And suddenly you start getting random views from accounts you don't recognize. Burner accounts, anonymous viewers, maybe even friends of his you've never met. Trust me, some men go full detective when they're obsessed. If he's not watching from his own profile, he might be watching from another. Also, don't underestimate the impact of playlists, pinned tweets, or vague captions. Some guys use music, movie quotes, or trending audios to send messages. He won't tag you, won't make it obvious, but there's emotional intent behind the content. It's his way of saying what he can't say directly. And if he ever deletes something soon after you view it, whether it's a story, a post, or a cryptic quote, it means he wanted you to see it, but got scared the message was too obvious. That's anxiety mixed with obsession. He's testing your reaction, but too afraid to follow through. In short, his social media behavior is the modern version of love notes passed in class, just more encrypted. When a guy is obsessed, but hiding it, the signs aren't always loud. They're quiet, strategic, and buried in his online habits. So stop asking yourself if you're imagining it. You're not. If your gut tells you he's watching you online, he probably is. And the clues are right there, tapping, lurking, scrolling. You just have to look a little closer. Here's a truth most women overlook. Just because he's silent doesn't mean he doesn't care. In fact, sometimes silence is the loudest sign of all. When a guy goes quiet, doesn't text, doesn't reach out, doesn't react, it's easy to assume he's lost interest. But what if that silence is actually covering something deeper? What if his silence is his obsession? The key is not to chase the silence, observe it. Let it speak, because sometimes a man's silence is his way of screaming. And when someone is truly obsessed with you, it's not always what they say that reveals the truth. It's what they can't say, what they hold back, what they avoid, the messages they type and delete, the urge to reach out that they suppress every single day. So the next time a guy goes quiet, don't automatically assume he's done. But ask yourself this instead. Is he really pulling away? Or is he drowning in feelings he's too afraid to show? Because silence in the world of love and obsession is rarely empty. It's full of everything he's not saying. When you realize a guy is secretly obsessed with you, but pretending not to care, it's easy to fall into emotional traps, the mind games, the overthinking, the temptation to do something to force a reaction. But here's the truth most girls don't hear enough. There are certain things you should never do in this situation, and doing them could completely shift the power away from you and right into his hands. Obsession thrives in silence, but it dies in desperation. If he's hiding his feelings, let him stay hidden. That's not your burden to fix. Also, never compete for his attention. If he's obsessing over you quietly but still entertaining other girls publicly, don't stick around hoping he'll wake up and choose you. You're not an option. You're not a placeholder. If he's watching your every move but giving his energy elsewhere, that's not love, it's control. And you should never tolerate emotional breadcrumbs just because you crave the full meal. And here's a big one. Don't confront him hoping he'll finally admit it. Yes, there's a fantasy in thinking he'll finally say, okay, I've been obsessed with you this whole time. But most men who hide their feelings do so because they're not ready to face them. If you force the conversation, he might shut down or deny everything. Not because it's not true, but because he's not equipped to handle the emotional exposure. That leaves you feeling rejected for something that was actually real. So what should you do? Hold your power. Move with quiet confidence. Let his obsession grow in the silence. While you live your life, glow up and attract someone who doesn't just watch from the sidelines, but shows up with clarity and intent. Because the moment you stop responding to his confusion with your clarity, that's when the game shifts completely. And that's exactly where your power lives. By now you've seen the signs, decoded the silence, read between the likes and long stares. You know he's secretly obsessed with you. But here's the most important part. None of that matters if you don't know how to keep the upper hand. Obsession alone isn't power. What you do with that knowledge is, the more grounded you are in yourself, the less his silence, his stares, or his likes will throw you off. You'll stop asking, does he like me? And start asking, do I even want a man who can't show up emotionally mature? And that question, that's the real power shift. Let him watch, let him wonder. And while he's obsessing over you from the shadows, you rise in your light. So here's your final piece of advice. Don't give away your upper hand by settling for being someone's fantasy. Be the standard, the woman who doesn't flinch when a man gets scared of his own feelings. The woman who doesn't chase because she's too focused on becoming unmissable. The woman who knows if a man is truly obsessed, he'll eventually be forced to face it or risk losing the very thing he can't stop thinking about. And that's a wrap. You've learned the signs, the subtle clues, and how to recognize a man's secret obsession without falling into the traps that can leave you feeling confused or drained. Now it's your turn to take control. Remember, you don't need to chase, you don't need to prove anything. Just stay confident in your worth and let him show up for you when he's ready. But before you go, I want you to ask yourself, what's your next step? How will you use this knowledge to protect your energy and create the kind of relationship you deserve? If you found this video helpful, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that'll empower you to navigate love and relationships with clarity and confidence. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Have you been through this situation? I'd love to hear about your experiences. And remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you are worthy of someone who shows up for you with full presence and respect. Until next time, keep your head high, your standards higher, and your heart protected.